Hello students, today we will be starting with the quantitative part of decision theory, and the first topic of study is single stage decision making under risk and uncertainty. We had already discussed the definition of single stage decision making problems. These are basically one of decisions where there will be no succeeding dependent activities. For example, the dress that you choose to wear for the day is not going to influence your class test performance, which might happen later that day. So, it is a one off decision. Next, we have to learn some fundamental terms in decision making problems, and these terms are very relevant not only for single stage decision making problems but also for your decision trees. So let us try to understand the basic terms. The first one is the course of action, or acts or activities or strategies or decision. So basically it means the actions that is within the control of the decision maker. The second fundamental term is the states of nature or events or possible outcomes, and they represent those phenomena or factors which are beyond the control of the decision maker. And finally, the what you get after the combination of events and activities is known as the payoff function. So these are very much important. So understand these terms, the understand and study these synonyms also, because I will be using these terms interchangeably, and for your exams also it will be good for you to know all the alternative names. We will try to understand them more clearly with the help of a simple example. Now let us consider the case of Ritik. Now Ritik plans for a date and he finalizes the venue. He then buys a gift for the date and gets dressed up and is all set to leave for the date. Suddenly he notices the overcast sky and a question arises in his mind. Will it rain? Now Ritik is in a dilemma whether to carry an umbrella or not, because he feels that an umbrella would not go well with his appearance. Now, depending upon the combination of whether it will rain and whether Ritik carries an umbrella or not, we are going to have various consequences or outcomes. So we will see that. Now the first outcome will be, or the first consequence will be, if it doesn't rain, or if it rains and he carries an umbrella, then let's say that he has a perfect date. That's the most favorable outcome. Now the second outcome will be like, if it rains and he does not carry an umbrella, then we can say that the date will be a disaster. Maybe his gift might be a painting and it will get spoiled in the rain, or maybe he will get drenched in the rain and being all mushy and shivering, he will be unable to focus on the date. So that will be the most unfavorable outcome. Now I don't like sad endings, so for the sake of a happy ending, let's say that there will be other outcomes which will result in a normal date, not a so perfect date, but okay one. So this is another outcome. So these are the three basic or the possible outcomes that can occur. Now that's the example. Now let's try to understand the three fundamental terms with the help of this example. So the first one will be the what is the state of nature or the events or the uncontrollable factors in this example. It is quite obvious that whether it will rain or not is going to be the uncontrollable one, or the factor which is not within the control of the decision maker. Now then, what is the course of action or the strategy or the decision in this example? It is going to be whether Ritik should carry an umbrella or not to the date. That is within the control of the decision maker. Now we have various combinations of these events as well as course of action that is going to give us certain consequences. In this example, the various consequences are going to be whether it is a perfect date, whether it is a failure, or whether it is going to be a normal date. So the combination of the known and the unknown gives rise to certain consequences, and that is known as payoff value. And such a matrix of payoff values is going to be known as payoff matrix. And these are the three fundamental terms for any decision making problem. So I hope that all the terms are clear. Next, we are going to see the steps for solving a single stage decision making problems. So the first and foremost step is to identify whether it is a profit based problem or a cost based problem. Why this is important is that some of the formulas or some of the methodology might differ a little based on whether it is going to be a profit based. So for problems under risk, an additional column for writing the probability for various events will also be there. So we will understand all these steps with the help of a solved example. So this is the first problem which we will be discussing. It is related to that of a shopkeeper who is selling a particular book on tax laws. Now since the laws are going to be updated every year, it is important for him to buy just the right number of books. So this problem is basically concerned with the number of books which he should order for the next year. That is the gist of the problem. So we are starting with the solution. The first step should be to find out whether this is a problem based on profit or cost. So after reading the problem, I'm sure you will be able to come to the conclusion that it is a profit based problem because it is related to that of a shopkeeper, and shopkeepers always look to maximize their profits. Now moving on to the second step, identification of the possible outcomes or events or uncontrollable factors. So the uncontrollable factor in this problem is going to be the demand or the number of people who are going to buy the book. So the shopkeeper has no idea how many people are going to buy the book. However, in the question it has been given that the range will be between 18 and 23. So we have a range having 6 possible outcomes. So that we have written them as from E1 to E6. Okay, so then moving on to identification of the possible course of action. Here also we are going to go with 6 possible course of action or 6 possible decisions, that is between 18 to 23, and that is denoted from A1 to A6. So it might be a point to ponder that why not less than 18 or why not more than 23? Why the number of decisions are going to be 6 only? Why not more than that? So just take a simple example. Let's assume that for your end semester exam, I have to set a separate question paper for each student, and the strength of the class is going to be 65. Now, setting up a question paper is going to take a lot of time, and anything more than 65 question paper set is going to be a waste of my time, because I know for sure that the maximum number of students in the class who is going to attend the exam will be 65 only. It can be less than 65 if some of them are absent, but definitely not more than 65. So replace time with profit for this problem and you will understand what I am talking about. The range has been given. It is unnecessary to go beyond or less than that. Fine. So the step 4 is actually developing the payoff matrix. So this matrix has been developed for maximum profit for this problem. Yeah. So we actually have two cases, two possible cases. Case 1 is when the demand is going to be more than or equal to the supply. So for that, let us take a simple example or the highlighted one, where we have 18 books in stock, but 19 people come asking for the book. So we can only sell 18 books. The last person, we will have to tell to him that it's out of stock. So for such cases, the total profit is going to be the total selling price of the number of books in stock to the total cost price of the number of books in stock. In this case, it is going to be 18. So the total profit will be total selling price of 18 books minus total cost price of 18 books. Fine. Now there can arise an alternate case where the demand is going to be less than the supply. So that I have highlighted with orange color. We will just consider a simple case. Okay. So in the highlighted case, you can see that the shopkeeper has 23 books in hand, but the demand is going to be only 18 books. So he is going to have like 5 books extra, isn't it? So in such a case, the total profit is going to be the total selling price of the sold copies. In this case, he is able to sell only 18 books plus the total revenue from the unsold copies, that is the remaining 5, minus he has paid for all the 23 books, isn't it? So minus the total cost price of all the books he had ordered, 23 in this case. So using this formula for this problem, we construct a payoff matrix, and that is given as this. So till this step, it is going to be common for all the problems, no matter which criterion you are going to use. Now moving on to the fifth step, that is selection of criteria. Now depending upon whether it is a problem under risk or uncertainty, we are going for different criterions. So first we are starting with decision making under uncertainty, and then we will slowly move on to risk. Okay, fine. So we are just starting with decision making under uncertainty. So we don't know the probability distribution for the various events. The first principle for study will be the Laplace principle, or the principle of insufficient reason, or the principle of rationality. So the principle of insufficient reason for what? Insufficient reason to conclude that some events are going to have a higher chance of occurring. We don't have any reason, or we don't have sufficient data to come to such a conclusion. So what Laplace said was that since we don't have enough data, we are going to assume that every event is going to have equal chance of occurring. So by giving an equal probability to all the events, Laplace simply converted the problem from that of uncertainty to that of risk, and you will find out in a little while that it is going to make life a lot simpler. So giving equal probability to all the events and finding the cumulative sum of the product of probability and outcomes is same as finding the arithmetic mean of all the events for a given activity. So what we are going to do is that we are going to find out the arithmetic mean for different events for a single activity. For example, if you are considering A1, we are going to find out the arithmetic mean of all these 6 values. For A2, we are going to find out the arithmetic mean of all these 6 values. A3 like this. So that's like that we will understand from the next slide. Yeah. So for A1 we have added all the possible outcomes and divided it so as to get the mean value. And from the values which we got, if it is a profit based problem, we are going to adopt, or we are going to select the highest value as the preferred decision. If it is a cost based problem, then the strategy or the activity having the least value will be our preferred choice. So that is about Laplace criterion. Now let's have a little fun activity. Now given below is the figure of a potted plant and a glass of water. The plan doesn't look so healthy. Okay, fine. So what are your observations from the figure? So just remember your observation, take your time, pause this video now, remember your observation and then play the video. Okay. So if your observation is like, I see a glass half full of water and a plant with some life in it, your attitude is optimistic. You tend to see the positive side of things. But if your answer is, I see a half empty glass of water and a plant half dead, then you are pessimistic. You tend to observe the negative side of things. The idea is to make you realize that these two extreme attitudes or thought process is going to form the basis for the next upcoming two criterions. So we will see the next criterion, which is going to be known as maxi-min or mini-max principle, or the criterion of pessimism. So maxi-min is the name given when the problem is profit based, and mini-max is going to be the name given when the problem is going to be cost based. So my suggestion is that you study just one name, either maxi-min or mini-max. So if I am studying for profit based, I will be studying maxi-min, but at the same time I should understand that if the problem is going to be cost based, the name is going to be exactly opposite of what I have studied. Otherwise, if you are going to study both the names, then there is a possibility that you might mix up. I leave the choice to you. Okay, fine. So the highlight of this principle is that it is adopted by extreme pessimists or people who are extremely on the safer side. And the idea of this principle is to select the best of the worst. So basically, we are going to find out the worst payoff value. So since this problem is profit based, we are going ahead with that. We are going to find out the minimum assured payoff for each course of action and choose that action which corresponds to the maximum of the above minimum payoff. For cost based problem, it is going to be exactly opposite. The concept will be very clear with the help of this example of a bookstore manager. So pessimists usually think that the worst thing is going to happen to them. So with respect to this example, the manager is going to think that whatever decision he is going to take, the worst event or the worst state of nature is going to happen. So suppose the shopkeeper is going to decide on A1, then the worst event is going to happen. But fortunately for him, whatever event happens, it is going to give the same value. So the minimum of this value is going to be 360 only. So that is what is given here. Suppose if the shopkeeper goes for a decision of A2, then you can see that the worst event is going to happen at E1, where the profit is going to be the least, that is 310. So that is written as here. Likewise, you find out for all the activities A3, A4, A5. Like for A3, the worst event will also be E1, where the profit will be the least and it is going to be 260 only. So that is written here. Likewise, you find out for all the activities, and from these values you take the maximum value as the selected one, and that will be your selected strategy or decision. So in this case, from these selected minimum values, the maximum one is going to be A1, which is going to be 360. Therefore, we are going to select that. Now that is where the name is going to help you. See the name, maxi-min for profit. So you are going to find out the minimum value for each activity, and from these minimum values you are going to consider the maximum value. For cost, it will be min max. So if you study the name, it is going to help you well. The next criterion is going to be maxi max or mini min principle, or the criterion of optimism. So it is adopted by extreme optimists and it results in a riskier but more beneficial outcome. So the idea is best of the best as opposed to the best of the worst adopted by pessimists. Okay, so here we are going to find out the best payoff. Now with respect to profit, we will be just discussing that. Find the maximum assured payoff for each course of action or activity, and from the selected maximum values for each activity, we pick out the highest value as the selected decision. So we will see that. Okay, so you have the payoff metrics, just look into that, and from that for activity 1 you can see that the maximum payoff value is going to be 360, whereas for activity A2 the maximum payoff value is going to be 380 for different events under activity 2. Similarly for activity 3 you are going to get 400 till you go on for A6, which is 460. Now out of these 6 values we are going to select the best or the maximum value, since it is profit based problem, and obviously we are going to select A6 as it gives the maximum value. So this is basically the idea of principle of optimism. The next principle is going to be Herwick's principle. It is also known as the criterion of realism. So the basic idea is that the attitude of the decision maker is neither extreme optimism nor extreme pessimism. So his attitude is going to lie somewhere in between the two extremes. So this somewhere in between the two extremes is quantified with the help of a coefficient or a factor known as value of optimism alpha. So this value of optimism, which is given between 0 and 1, denotes the degree to which the decision maker is optimistic. Okay, fine. But some books are going to give alpha as value of realism, and their alpha value is going to be 1 minus alpha value, which we denote in our PPT. So please don't be confused, just follow the convention I am giving you. So alpha is actually the value of optimism. For example, alpha is equal to 0.4 suggests a slight pessimism. If alpha is equal to 0.8, it means that he is highly optimistic, almost close to extreme optimism. Fine. For this method or for this principle, we need to construct a table, which is Herwick's criterion table. So the steps to be followed. The first one is decide the value of optimism or alpha. It will be given to you in the question. Now you have to write down the maximum and minimum payoff values for each activity. Then you have to use the formula that is given below to find out the payoff value for each activity, considering both the minimum as well as the maximum value. Then finally the activity which is having the maximum value for profit is going to be selected as the appropriate decision. So the formula for profit is payoff value is equal to value of optimism alpha into maximum payoff value, because for profit alpha refers to how much optimistic he is of getting very high profit. So that is why we have written maximum payoff value, plus 1 minus alpha refers to how much pessimistic the decision maker is. And since he is pessimistic, he is going to look for the minimum or the worst case profit which he might get, and that is why the minimum payoff value. So for cost it is going to be reverse, because a optimistic decision maker is always going to look for minimum cost or minimum loss. He is always going to say that no, I will be incurring only minimum loss, and that is why we are relating alpha with minimum payoff value, and 1 minus alpha, which is value of pessimism, is going to be related with maximum payoff value, because the decision maker is going to say that, oh no, the worst case scenario will happen to me, so I will have the maximum cost or the maximum losses. So that is why we are relating maximum payoff value with value of pessimism for cost. Now you need not worry about all this. You can just study the formula as it is without going into the logic. That's your wish. But don't make mistake. Now it's just a point to ponder that what happens when alpha is equal to 1 and what happens when alpha is equal to 0. You refer to ND Vora textbook. The answer is given there. It will try to imitate, or it will become same as which principle. Under first step, we understand the value of optimism, which is given as 0.6 in the question. For step 2, we find out the maximum value. We find out the maximum payoff value for each activity. For A1 it is going to be 360, for A2 it is going to be 380, for A3 it is going to be 400, and for A4 it is going to be 420. Like that we have written down all the values. Now similarly we are going to write down the minimum value for all the activities. For A1 it will be 360, for A2 it will be 310, for A3 it is going to be 260, 260. Like that we write down all the maximum and minimum payoff values and construct the criterion table. Now we have to find out the criterion value. We use the formula for profit, which is alpha into maximum value plus 1 minus alpha into minimum value. Like that we calculate for all the activities, and the one which is showing the maximum value, that is A1, is going to be selected. So this method is as simple as that. Suppose if it is cost, you use the appropriate formula and get the value. Fine. So we are moving on to the next criterion, which is Savage principle of minimax regret criterion. For the exam, don't confuse yourself with minimax criterion and minimax regret criterion. Both are different. So if the word regret is there, it is a different method than the criterion of pessimism. So please understand that. Okay. So this is the method that introduces the concept of regret or opportunity loss. So regret we all have felt at some point in our life. I will just try to give you a simple example. Suppose you have ordered a watch from Flipkart or Amazon for rupees 5,000, and within 1 or 2 days it arrived and you are very happy with that. But after 2 weeks you notice that they have given a 50% discount for the same watch. So the cost now goes down to 2,500. So now you feel a regret, or you feel a opportunity loss, that you could have saved some money if you had chosen another alternative, or if you had chosen another course of action. So that is exactly what this principle tries to introduce. They are going to give the regret or opportunity loss with respect to a optimal or an ideal value, and we are going to select that decision which will give us the minimum regret. Fine. So that is what is given here. Idea, it selects the course of action that minimizes the maximum regret. So we have one formula for finding out regret or opportunity loss, which is going to be maximum payoff for an event minus selected payoff for the actual event. Or I can tell that it is actually the difference between what I should or could have done and what I actually did. Or you can also say like it is the difference between the ideal or the most optimal decision minus your most practical decision. Practical decision in the sense the one which you take. So also note that opportunity losses are positive or zero there is no such thing as negative regret, because regret itself means it is some kind of loss, and you are comparing it with an optimal value. So there will be no negative terms. The steps to be followed for Savage criterion are as follows. We have to start off by creating the regret table. That is by finding out the opportunity loss for various actions for each event. Notice that this is the way. Don't do it in the opposite way. You will end up getting the wrong answer. Then write the maximum regret value for each activity, and from those values select the minimum regret. So this is the methodology to be followed for Savage criterion. Coming back to the example of bookstore manager, the first step will be to construct the regret table. So I hope you remember the formula for regret or opportunity loss. It is going to be maximum payoff for a particular event minus the selected payoff for the same event. It is for profit. So in this example, let us consider event E1. The maximum possible payoff value that is actually going to be got when the demand and the supply is going to be same, isn't it? That is, the manager has 18 books in hand and the demand is 18. That will be the most optimum one for event E1. Now moving on to event E2, the most optimum one would be when the shopkeeper has 19 books in hand and the demand is also 19. Likewise, we find out the maximum payoff value for each event. Now, the selected payoff value for each event is actually got by subtracting the matrix value from the most optimum one. For example, when we are considering event 1, see, the first value is going to be 360. 360 minus 360 is going to be 0, means that there is no opportunity loss, or it is the most optimal, or the payoff that is giving the maximum value for profit. Now moving on to the second one, we can see that 360 minus 310 is going to give us 50. So that is what we are writing here. The third row is equal to 360 minus 260, which is going to give us a loss of 100. Fourth one is going to be 360 minus 210, which is going to give a loss of 150. Please remember that the regret table is going to be constructed by considering various activities for the same event. Don't forget this point, otherwise your whole answer is going to go wrong, because regret or opportunity loss arises when there are more than two alternatives to the same state of nature or event, isn't it? So that is what we are doing when we are calculating in this manner. But if you are doing in the other way, your whole answer is going to be wrong. So take care of that point. Fine. So that is step 1. Once we have constructed the regret table, the next step will be to find out the maximum regret value for each activity. So for activity A1, the maximum regret is given by 100. For A2, the maximum regret is given by 80. For A3, the maximum regret is given by 100, which is here. For A4, 150, A5, 200, and A6 it is going to be 250. So the second step will be to write down the maximum regret value for each activity, and the step 3 will be to select the minimum regret value among them, since we will be looking to minimizing our regret or opportunity loss. So this is the methodology to be followed for Savage principle or regret criterion. So the point to ponder. So if we are looking to minimize the regret, then why not select the course of action that gives the maximum payoff? In this case, profit. Okay, so there is one paradox known as Allais paradox, which states that the decision maker may not always choose the optimum payoff value. Maybe I can explain that with the help of a simple example. Two inventors come to you asking you to invest your salary amount in their company. So the first investor says that if you give your entire salary to him, he will give you back 10 lakhs at the end of the year, regardless of the condition of market. Okay. So the second investor says that if you give your entire salary to him, he will give you back 50 lakhs if the market is in a good position, which happens about 60% of the time. That is, the probability is 0.6 or 60%. If the market is normal, which happens about 10% of the time, then he will give you 20 lakhs. But if the market the market goes into a loss, which happens about 30% of the time, then he won't give you anything and your salary amount will be lost. So one investor is saying that I will give you a confirmed amount of 10 lakhs regardless of the market condition, but the second investor is setting some conditions for giving you money. So the profit, the maximum profit is obviously high in the case of second investor, but there is a chance that you can lose the money if the market is not performing well. So you can see that many of the decision maker, they will go for investor 1 even though the amount is going to be less. Since it is confirmed amount, many of the decision makers will go with investor 1. So such a paradox, such a condition is known as Allais paradox. He had given the initial formulation of this theory, and it is one of the main criticism of Bayesian theory. So you need not ponder over all that. I just told this as a matter of fact. Okay, fine. So next we are going to study decision making under risk. So where we know the probability distribution of various events. Most likely event means that the event having the highest probability is selected. So once you select the event having the highest probability, you are going to look at the action having the maximum value in case of profit, and if it is a cost based problem, you will select the action having the minimum value. Coming back to our example of bookstore manager, we can see that the only additional thing in the payoff matrix is going to be a column for probability distribution, which is shown as shaded. So in that we are going to select the event that is having the maximum probability. For this example, it is going to be event 4. Okay, fine. So from this event 4, we are going to choose the activity that is going to give you the maximum profit. So I think A4 is actually going to give you the maximum profit for this particular event. Yeah, so that is what is written there. So the decision, so we select A4 and the decision is to place 21 books so as to get the maximum profit. So this method is quite reasonable for situations where the probability of a particular event may be predominantly larger than the probabilities of other possible events. But the problem is that this theory or this criterion is silent on when two or more events have the same probability. The next principle under risk is going to be known as expectation principle or expected monetary value, EMV. So unless otherwise stated, this is going to be the default method for risk as well as for decision trees, which we will be studying under multi-stage decision making problems. Fine. So the idea behind this theory is that it is based on the weighted sum of all possible courses of action. Okay. The logic is we try to find that decision that performs well against all the given activities on an overall scale. Coming back to the example of bookstore manager, if you have to calculate the expected payoff for activity A1, the methodology will be as follows. We have to find out the cumulative sum of the product of the probability for each event and its corresponding payoff value for the required activity. So since it is the cumulative sum, we have to do it for the all possible or all the given events. So it will be like 0.05 into 360 plus 0.10 into 360 plus 0.30 into 360 plus 0.40 into 360 plus and so on. Finally, we will get the answer as 360, which is calculated here. Fine. Like that, we will have to calculate for all the activities for A2, A3 till A6. And finally, we will select that payoff which is giving the maximum value for profit based problem. So A3 is actually giving the maximum value of 386 and therefore A3 will be the selected decision. Okay. The next methodology is going to be, or the next principle is going to be expected opportunity loss or expected regret. This is kind of similar to your Savage criterion or regret criterion. The only difference is that you have to multiply the probability with the regret. So the first step will be obviously to create the regret table, which I am sure that you will be knowing how to do it. Next, what you are going to do is that for every activity you are going to do the same as cumulative sum of the product of the probability into the corresponding regret value for the required activity. So for A1, if you are looking for A1, then the answer would be like expected regret would be calculated like 0.05 into 0 plus 0.10 into 20 plus 0.30 into 40 plus and so on. Finally, you are going to get the answer as 51. Like that we do for A2, A3, A4, A5, A6. And finally, since we are looking to minimize our regret or disappointment or opportunity loss, we will be selecting that value which is having the minimum regret, which will be A3. Okay, so that is what is written in this slide. The expected regret for any strategy is determined by summing up the product of the regret values and their respective probabilities. So like that we are calculating for activity A1. We will have to calculate for all the activities and the activity with the minimum regret. We are going to select that as our course of action. So in this case it is going to be A3. Now kindly understand that these are actually, these two methods, the expectation principle as well as this expected regret, are actually two sides of the same coin. They are going to give the same decision. They are going to result in the same decision because the expectation principle is looking at maximizing the profit, whereas this expected regret is aimed at minimizing your disappointment or opportunity loss, which is going to be the same. So just understand that point. We now have to learn some important terms under risk. The first one is EPPI or expected payoff of perfect information. So first, what is perfect information? So I would say that it is the situation in which the decision maker has certainty about the states of nature. That is, he has perfect knowledge of what is going to happen and what should be the course of action he should take. So, or in a lighter vein, I can say that it is that situation in which a person becomes a god because he knows everything. So, it can be thought of that. It is that benchmark or the optimal value. Fine. So EPPI is the maximum attainable expected monetary value that the decision maker gets when he has perfect information. Fine. When we solve the problems, we will understand that more clearly. And the second one is going to be expected payoff. expected payoff is the value you get when you don't have perfect information. That is when you solve under the condition of risk. That is what we did for the last three criteria. And in that, expected payoff value is the value that you get from the principle B, or the expectation principle. Okay. So expected value of perfect information, EVPA. See, see, with respect to the example of our bookstore, we have seen that initially the bookstore did not have any knowledge about the probability distribution of the events or demands. Then when we came to risk, the shopkeeper got a probability distribution of all the events. So how can he get that probability distribution? Actually, there are two methods. The first one is that he can observe from his past history of sales and he can arrive at the probability distribution. The second option is that companies are there which collect data from various sources, develop the probability distribution and give it to their client in return for a fee. So you might have heard of Cambridge Analytica and Facebook scandal, in which the app collected data of millions of Facebook users, mostly without their consent, and used that data to sway voters in favor of certain political parties in various countries. So that's how important your data is. And if the in our case, if the bookstore manager is following the second method for getting the probability distribution, then what is the maximum, what is the ceiling, or what is the limit to the fees that he can pay to the organization for developing the probability distribution? That is given by EVPA, and it is simply defined as the difference between expected payoff of perfect information, EPPA, minus expected payoff. That is the value you calculate under expectation principle. Fine. Now coming back to our example of bookstore manager, we have to calculate EPPA. So it is actually the payoff which we get when the bookstore manager has perfect knowledge. So that is obviously we had seen that the perfect situation arises when the supply and the demand is going to be equal. So for event 1, when the demand is 18, the bookstore manager has 18 books in hand. For event E2, when 19 books are required, the bookstore manager has 19 books in hand. So multiplying with the probability distribution and summing them, we are going to get the value as 411. This is the maximum possible profit that the bookstore manager can make when he has perfect knowledge about everything. So EP is what we calculated under our expectation principle. If you go back through the slides and see, you can understand that the value was calculated as 386 under A3, which is giving the maximum profit. So EVPA, or the fees or the maximum fees the bookstore manager can pay an organization for collecting data for the probability distribution, is actually 411 minus 386, which is going to be 25. So it is the maximum amount the bookstore manager should pay. If he goes beyond that, it will be a loss for the bookstore manager. Okay, fine. So moving on to the next example. I will just be going through this example because it is actually based on cost. So I just want to make you understand the small differences that might arise when we solve for cost-based problem. This example is concerned with a company that just purchased a piece of machinery and is in the process of deciding the number of spare parts for the same. Now, if the company is caught with a shortage of spare parts, then the cost of mending that machinery is going to be very high. So the company wants to make sure that the number of spare parts they are going to order is optimal, and that is the gist of the problem. The probability distribution for failure of the machinery for a 8-year period is also given below. We will have to calculate the cost to the company based on various criteria, and also in addition we will have to find out certain additional terms like EVPA. So for solving any decision theory based problem, the first step will be to understand whether it is a profit based or cost based problem. So I am sure that after reading the question you will be able to come to the conclusion that it is a cost based problem. Else if you read the question, I had marked the key points or keywords from which you can get the hint that it is a cost based problem. Fine. So moving on to the second step, that is identifying the course of actions as well as the possible events. See, for that we will have to read the question thoroughly so that we are able to catch the keywords. I had marked the keywords in green. The first one is deciding on an appropriate number of certain spare parts required for repair. So that is what the problem is all about. The company wants to decide on a optimal number of spare parts. So that is one keyword, that is spare parts, number of spare parts. Fine. The second one is in case the machine fails, or number of failures during 8-yearly period. So that is actually another keyword, the number of failures or the failure of the machinery. That is actually another keyword. Okay. So we have got the keywords. From the keywords, try to understand which keyword is within the control of the decision maker. From the problem, we can see that only the choice of ordering the number of spare parts, only that is within the control of the decision maker. So that is actually going to be the course of action or activity. Whereas the number of failures, we cannot say anything, we cannot predict. That is beyond the control of the decision maker, and that is going to be the event or state of nature. Fine. So develop the payoff matrix. So we actually have 6 possible outcomes. We have actually 6 possible activities also. So how did we come to that conclusion? We will see. Okay, fine. So from the probability distribution, we can see that for 0 failures, there is a chance of 0.1. For 1 failure, there is a chance of 0.2. For 2 failure, 0.3. 5 failures, 0.1. But you can see that for the failures, 6 plus failures, there is a probability of 0. It means that more than 5 failures is never going to happen. So like I told earlier, the limit is given between 0 and 5. So anything beyond that is actually unnecessary and not required. After we have constructed the payoff matrix, the next step will be to solve as per the given criteria. So the first criterion is actually mini max. Notice that the name has changed from maxi min in case of profit based problem to mini max. So what to do is actually given in the name itself. So we will have to find out the maximum payoff value for each activity, and among those values we will have to select the minimum one. So mini min, same, it has changed from maxi max in the case of profit based problem to mini min. So we will have to find out the minimum values of all the activities and select the least value among these among the values selected for each activity. So Laplace principle, we will have to find out the mean value for each activity and select the minimum one since we are dealing with cost. Herwick's principle, the formula might change a little, alpha into minimum value, unlike alpha into maximum value in the case of profit. So understand it well and apply the correct formula. And once you find out the value for each activity, we select the least one since it is a cost based problem. Expected cost principle. So what we are doing is that we are finding out the cumulative sum of the product of the probability for each event and the corresponding payoff value under each activity, and we are selecting that activity which has the minimum value, unlike the selection of maximum value for profit, because it is a cost based problem and the company is looking at decreasing, minimizing the cost to the company. So I am repeating this point again and again so that you don't forget, you don't make careless mistakes. Fine. So the next method is going to be, if you are solving by expected regret method, then we will have to create a regret table and multiply the regret value for each activity with the corresponding probability, find out the cumulative sum and select the one which is having the least regret. Notice that even for a profit based problem, we selected the activity having the least regret. Here also we are going to select the activity having the least regret. So understand that, sorry, I made a mistake. The least regret is not for A3, it is for A4, 8.2. So that is the idea. We will have to select the activity having the least regret. It does not change for whether it is a cost based problem or a profit based problem. Next, we have to find out EVPA, or the expected value of perfect information, or the fees that the company should pay for, to an external organization for getting the probability distribution. So here the EVPA is equal to expected cost with optimal policy. That is nothing but the cost which you get when you follow the expectation principle minus the expected cost when you have the perfect information in hand. So here note that when you have the perfect information, obviously the cost to the company is going to be minimum, or the losses to the company is going to be minimum. Okay, fine. So here the EVPA has been calculated as 17.4 minus 9.2 is equal to 8.2 thousand rupees. Fine. So this marks the end of today's topic. In the next video lecture, we'll be starting with decision making, multi-stage decision making problems, and decision trees are the way for solving such problems. That all we will be discussing in detail in the next video lecture. Thank you.